This is term 1, week 3's additional practice activities, and you've got the scenario here about Chloe, who is paying tax to SARS, and they tell you some information about her. The first one is to write out the SARS acronym in full. That is the South African Revenue Service. It's just an acronym. You need to know what it means. The second one says write down the number of tax brackets in the personal income table below. So these are the tax brackets over here, and you just literally count them. You'll get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 7 tax brackets. Then they say show by means of calculation how the minimum amount of 777,362 was charged from one of the tax brackets. So if we look in our tax table over here, we can see we're looking at bracket number 3 there, where the 77,000 is coming from. Now, realistically, where do they get that from? It's actually from the row above it. So let me put this on a new page, and then we can see how that gets calculated. Okay, so the place that the 77,000 comes from is actually from calculating the bracket above it. So the bracket above us has there the 32,678 plus 26% of the taxable income above 237,100. So what they did is they basically took that bracket and they said, well, 42,678 plus 26% of, and they multiplied it by using the full amount that could fit in that bracket. So that 370,500. So 370,500 minus the 237,100. So basically they said, if I earn exactly the uppermost region of this bracket, what would I pay in tax? And then when you recalculate that out, you'll get to 42,678 plus 26% of 133,400, and you continue to calculate. That's 42,678 plus 33,046 rand, and then when you total that, you will get to your 77,365. And that is how all of these tax brackets work. This amount that starts the bracket that you're adding in the beginning is actually if I was to work out my full tax for the bracket above it. So in the row above it, where you've got this 42,678, that comes by looking at the row above it and saying 18% of 237,100, because that's the end of that bracket. And then the next table will start by going, well, what is the total for bracket 3 if I used an income of 512,800 rand. So it's always calculated by basically working out the maximum of the row above it. The next question asks us to give the meaning of the term tax rebate according to the given context. So notice firstly, this phrase according to the given context is quite important. It means you have to make reference to the scenario they've given you. So in this case, the scenario was all about Chloe, the 51-year-old educator. So in your answer, you need to reference to Chloe. So if I was just defining tax rebate, I would say something to the effect of tax rebate is the amount of money by which SARS reduces your tax owing according to age or depending on age. So it is a reduction, and this is the key point we're looking for, reduction on tax. And it's according to age. And then age. And then because of the context, and they want it according to context, you would need to say it is a reduction that Chloe receives on her tax based upon her age. So that would be what we're looking for. But the key things here is it's something that brings down your tax, and it is related to the person's age. Then the last question here for question 2 Asks you, Chloe said her monthly tax contribution is 3,550 Rand and 25 cents. Verify, showing all calculations whether her statement is correct. And I want you to notice there that word verify, because as soon as you see the word verify in a question, it should be telling you that you absolutely have to have a conclusion statement at the end to get the full marks for the question. So we need to say at the end, is her statement correct or not? So to do that, we need to work out firstly her tax. So let's see what we know about her tax and then work it forward. Okay, so the first thing we have here, if we look at the information we're given, is we are told she's 51 years old, which already tells us about the rebates that we're going to need later. Then we know that she earns 34,447 Rand and 22 cents monthly. That's important. And we also know about her contributions to her pension as well. Okay, and her contributions to her medical aid. So those are the things that we know that are going to be important to the calculation. So first things first, we need to find out what is her taxable income. That's always our starting point, is finding taxable income. And if you work on it, taxable income is always going to be coming from taking your gross salary and subtracting from your gross salary your pension, if you're contributing to a charity, and if there's something else that they tell us is non-taxable or is tax deductible. Now in this case, we know that she's paying towards a pension, and that is going to be what's going to need to come off. So firstly, I'm going to need to say, well, her income is 34,447,22, and I need to remove her pension, and her pension is 7.5%. 7.5% of 34,447 Rand and 22 cents. Okay. Then when you work that out, you're going to land up saying, well, that's 34,447 and 22, minusing off 2583.54. That is your pension. When I do that, I'm going to get to an answer of saying 31,863 and 68 cents. And then because this is now monthly, and we know when we're working with tax tables we must go annually, I'm going to multiply my answer by 12 to get my annual taxable income. 382 Rand, 382,364.14. Okay, and that is now taxable income. Once we have our taxable income, the next thing that we need to do is go to our tax tables. So our tax tables are over there, and you need to look and see which bracket it falls into. In this case, it's going to fall into our third bracket, and then we're going to calculate based on the bracket. So the third bracket tells us 77,362 plus 31%, so I can write that as 0.31, of means times taxable income above 370,500. So to find that taxable income above that amount, I'm going to go 382,364.14, and I'm going to subtract the 370,500. Okay. Then from there, you can kind of keep working this out step by step. I get 77,362 plus 31% of 11,864.14. Then I'm going to work that step out. We're using BODMAS to know which order to go in with this. 31% of that is going to give me a 3,677.88. And then when you add those together, I'm going to get to 81,039 Rand and 88 cents. Okay. So now this is our tax, but it's our tax before rebates come off. So you're never going to stop at this point because this is now before we've done rebates, and rebates come off for every person. So we now need to go back to our scenario and see what do we see and what do we know about the rebates. Well, firstly, we have our age rebate, and she's 51 years old, so that means she gets one rebate. So that tells me now I need to take my 81,000 that I'd worked out previously and 39, and I need to take off my annual rebate of 16,425 Rand. And when you do that, you get to 64,614 and 88 cents. Now, if she didn't have medical aid, this would be the point where you would say, okay, well, now I know her annual tax. But because she has medical aid, that also needs to come off. Now, it's up to you whether you first divide this by 12 to go monthly, because remember, our medical aid credits are given to us per month, or you multiply the medical aid credits by 12 first. I think I'm going to go monthly, so I'm going to say, okay, what is 64,614,88 divided by 12 to go to monthly tax? And that'll give me 5384,57. I'm now going to say, well, if that's what my tax would be without medical aid, I now need to take off my medical aid credits. So it tells us in the scenario, she pays medical aid for herself, her husband, and then 2 children as well. So I'm going to take off for herself, firstly, 347. That's the taxpayer one. I'm going to take off another 347. That is for the first dependent, which would be her husband. And then I'm going to take off 2 times 234, and that is for her 2 children. That goes off there as well. And then when you subtract all of that, you get to an answer of 4222,57, and that is now her tax. Now the question did ask us whether she was correct in saying her tax was about 5,000. And she was not correct in the statement that she gave, so we need to say, therefore, you can either say not correct or invalid. And that is the end of that question.